Coming up at KX News at noon, it's road trip season. What you need to know to stay safe in the passenger seat may disappoint you. Plus, a look at crime one city's police department dealt with in 2018. And what you could find by digging around in North Dakota's backyard.
Putting North Dakota first. KX News at noon starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Sonji Noon. In our top story, 3 people died in a fiery crash Monday afternoon, just northeast of Douglas. The Highway Patrol says a Silverado was traveling west on Highway 23 and a Suburban was headed east. The Silverado crossed the center line and hit the Suburban head on. Both vehicles ended up in the ditch, and authorities say the Suburban landed on its passenger side and started on fire. It was fully engulfed in flames. Now, according to the Highway Patrol, 2 people in the Suburban, a man and a woman from Parshall, died on scene. A little girl was pulled to safety by some bystanders. The 78-year-old driver of the Silverado also died. Authorities say he was from Douglas. The Highway Patrol is still investigating the crash. Nearly 100 million Americans are planning to take a family vacation in 2019. With more than half of those families expected to get their destination by car, according to AAA, it can be easier for passengers just to kick back and relax on a long drive. But authorities stress that you shouldn't get too comfortable. Becky Farr explains.
We've all done it. Thrown our feet up on the dashboard, reclined the seat, or laid in the back to relax on the road. Vehicles are designed to protect, but if a driver or passenger doesn't comply with the design, that protection system could injure a person more than it can protect them.
Passenger restraint systems are designed to work in conjunction with the vehicle's engineering and crumple space, to allow the passenger to ride the crash down, meaning safely come to a stop.
Moss said that seatbelts are engineered to protect when they're worn this way only, with the seat upright so that the seatbelt is in contact with one clavicle bone and both of the hip bones.
If a passenger is not being properly restrained, those restraint systems are less effective and can actually become a burden and a hindrance to that safety, as well as injure the occupant themselves.
State law says that seatbelts should be worn in accordance with the vehicle manufacturer. So not wearing a seatbelt properly is not only unsafe, it's also a violation of the law. Putting your legs up on the dashboard is another unsafe way to sit.
Airbags deploy in less than a second with extreme force. They're designed to protect with the notion that the passenger is buckled up with both feet flat on the floor.
If a person has their limbs in the way of the airbag, that can actually cause catastrophic damage to the limb and push them into other parts of the body, causing internal organ damage as well.
Becky Farr, KX News.
Moss said comfort designs like reclining seats are meant to be utilized when the vehicle is completely stopped and out of traffic. They are not to be reclined while the vehicle is in motion. North Dakota's health department says an estimated 21,000 gallons of oil-filled wastewater spilled from a pipeline near Williston, and some of it entered an unnamed tributary to the Missouri River. The spill was reported Sunday, and it happened about 20 miles east of Williston and about a mile from Lake Sacagawea, the largest reservoir on the Missouri River. However, the state environmental scientists say it does not appear to have reached the lake. Authorities still don't know what caused a fire at the Sunset Bluff Apartments in Mandan, but investigators spent all day Monday investigating the area, trying to figure out where the blaze began.
The investigators are trained in ways to try to pinpoint the point of origin, as we call it. It's the point where the fire actually started. They'll be digging through the whole burned area.
Sunday's fire was a tough one to fight. Even though the Mandan Fire Department was on scene within minutes, a privately owned fire hydrant located on the apartment property was another challenge. Mandan Fire was assisted by 5 other first responding agencies. It took 8 hours for the crews to put out the fire and clear the scene. People displaced by the fire won't be let back into their homes until authorities finish the investigation. On Monday morning, people were allowed back on the property to get their personal items out of their garages. One of them was Teresa Thompson, who lived in the building with her 3 children. She says her daughter was the one who told her what was happening, and together they were able to help alert others.
was just really scary. And as she called, I went and knocked on the outside doors here, helped my neighbor lady out and her dog, got her in my air-conditioned car.
People are urged to contact their property manager to get the latest information on when they are allowed back inside. Even before the fire was put out, members of the community began doing what they could to help their neighbors. The Blackstone Hotel became the base of operations, not only as a place to stay for those displaced, but for donations. The hotel has been collecting supplies like clothing, toiletries, and pet food since Sunday afternoon and shows no sign of stopping. We spoke with the hotel's manager, who tells us the response from the community has surpassed even her wildest expectations.
People are donating constantly. Salvation Army just called and donated $4,000 they raised. We have a lot of companies that are just raising money like crazy for us and just calling in 5 days, 10 days. Lady was down in Florida going on vacation, called immediately, wanted to donate $700 to rooms. So the community is very amazing right now, and it's way more than we ever expected to see.
And these items are still needed: bedding and towels, baby food and formula, cat litter, and litter boxes. Again, those donations can be dropped off at the Blackstone Hotel. If you are unable to donate but want to help, they are still looking for volunteers to help sort out the items and make sure everyone is taken care of. 7 firefighters were treated for heat exhaustion while battling the blaze at the Sunset Bluffs apartments. But you don't have to be fighting a fire to be at risk of heat exhaustion. There are some symptoms you need to look out for. Muscle cramps, dizziness, and sweating means your body is overheating. There are some things to do for treatment, such as cooling down, drinking fluids, and removing yourself from the heat.
We don't get to pick our times when we work, and we don't get to pick how hard we work. So we take steps. We always have fluids on scene. And we try to rotate people more, give them a chance to rest, because we can't stop what we're doing until we get it under control.
If symptoms continue, be sure to seek medical attention as soon as possible. Now, happening today, the governor is set to arrive in Mott to survey the damage left by Friday night's tornado. Governor Doug Burgum, along with the state's Homeland Security Director, will survey damage and visit with local leaders and residents. Mott's mayor will lead the tour. An EF1 tornado with wind speed of 105 miles an hour hit Mott Friday night. It damaged homes, caved in garages, and leveled a building at the Heidegger County Fairgrounds. No injuries were reported. Crime in the Magic City is down. That's the big takeaway from Minot Police Chief Jason Olson's 2018 crime report presentation. Chief Olson says burglary dropped from 245 calls in 2017 to 219 last year, but reports of intimidation and stalking jumped from 41 in 2017 to 71 in 2018. Although DUI arrests also increased in 2018 over the prior year, overall, in the last 10 years, Chief Olson says the numbers are trending in the right direction.
Down significantly from what it was 10 years ago. We used to be up in the 500 or so arrests per year. I attribute most of that to the 24/7 program that the state implemented. That's had a huge impact on DUI arrests across the state.
There were no reported murders in Minot in the year of 2018. This weekend, the Northwest Narcotics Task Force, along with numerous police and drug enforcement agencies, conducted Operation Summer Heat in order to reduce criminal activity in Williston and Williams County. In total, 17 people were arrested. The operation seized about 130 grams of methamphetamine with a $13,000 street value. The operation also seized around 316 Schedule IV pills. The operation was supported by the Upper Missouri River Regional Dispatch Center and the Williams County State's Attorneys General and Corrections Center. A Minot man says he's not guilty of making and setting off a bomb just east of Minot. Patrick Wagner is charged with 2 felonies in connection with the incident in April in a ditch along 55th Street Northeast. Investigators say Wagner was seen on surveillance video purchasing items found to be in the explosion device that blew up. Court documents say a sheriff's deputy was driving by and investigating a small fire in a ditch when the bomb went off. No one was injured. Wagner faces up to 15 years in prison if found guilty on both charges. His next court appearance will be on August 21st. Last week, a man in Minot was also arrested for dumping motor oil down a storm drain. We spoke with him and he says he did not know how to properly dispose of the used oil. A Minot City landfill is one place where you can recycle your hazardous waste materials, and the process is easy.
We'd like to utilize it so we can recycle it and things like that. It's free out here at the landfill. You can just go ahead and dump here, and then we have a dumpster right beside the oil container where you can put your container if you do not want to reuse that.
A poll on our Facebook page showed that over 350 people do not know how to properly dispose of their oil. But find this story at our website, kxnet.com, to learn exactly how to safely dispose of oil. And playing in the dirt is fun, especially when you find dinosaurs. The North Dakota Geological Survey is a group of paleontologists uncovering the prehistoric era piece by piece. On this day, the volunteers were working with specialists at a site about 45 minutes south of Bismarck. With the public's help so far this season, they've uncovered a Triceratops skull, teeth from a T-Rex, and quite a few ribs. The lab manager says she just can't get enough of those dinosaur finds.
So right now we're uncovering a whole bunch of Edmontosaurus material, a lot of Triceratops material. We're slowly working back in what we call a quarry, which is a section that we would go back to year after year.
For more information on how to register for a public dig, head over to our website at kxnet.com. Still to come on KX News, a big donation to help make sure more wishes are granted. And we have another round of storm chances, where and when they could hit, in your full forecast.
Now, your local weather with the KX Storm Team.
Well, good afternoon. We've got some areas getting sun, other areas getting some rain, and Dickinson would be one of those areas. Take a look at the radar and satellite right now. Got some rain showers moving through Dickinson and folks in the southwest. I've got the lightning turned on so you can see that we actually do have a few rumbles of thunder out there, some lightning, but small thunderstorms right now. We'll be talking about more instability later on and the possibility for some strong and severe storms, but some rain showers and thunderstorms moving around New England. Again, there in Dickinson. We live to the north and there's rain on the way to Williston as well. So if you're in Minot and you're in Bismarck and you've been enjoying the sunshine, as you can see here, we've got cloud cover on the way from the west. Now, the temperatures are really all over the place because under the cloud cover, we're still seeing the 60s. Beach, North Dakota at 64 degrees, 78 in Minot, 80 degrees in Bismarck. And so when the clouds move through, it's going to really kind of dampen those temperatures, kind of hold them down a little bit. We've got southeasterly winds here around 5 to 10. These are not going to be too much of a concern. Now, you'll feel the winds if you're under a thunderstorm today, but widespread, they're not going to be strong. Dew points, however, are a little high, so for many of us, it's feeling a little kind of sticky, kind of muggy feeling. Not so bad up towards the north. We have some 50s for dew points around Minot, but in terms of that dew point scale, you can see here when we're around 60, this is typically when it starts again, kind of feeling a little muggy. If we get a little higher, we'd get a little uncomfortable. And again, in the 70s, they're a little oppressive, but you mix that with the 70s, around 80 today. We've got chances for some storms. The dew points really fuel for storms, and so we've got a marginal, slight, and now an enhanced risk for folks in the far southwest. Now, we've got that moisture moving in now, but the really unstable times could be late afternoon. Now, we'll be watching these storms intently by the early parts of the afternoon, but it's mostly the southern half of the state that will watch these storms become strong to severe. Here's 4:30 this afternoon. We could see some golf ball size hail, gusts of around 60. And so you could see here, this is more scattered storms heading into this evening as well. Better chances for more non-severe storms in the north and more garden variety storms in the south. That's where we'll be watching for those really strong storms here. We've got another round that wants to skirt the southwest, and so we'll be watching these more than likely until around that midnight hour, if not just after, because you can see here we still carry that instability through some of the morning hours. Now, temperatures tomorrow, well, they're back into the 70s to the 80s. Now, we are a little cool for the next few days, cooler than normal for a lot of us, but we will eventually start to warm. In fact, on Thursday, we'll start seeing the temperatures bump up a little bit. Here's the Dickinson 3-day forecast. Got that rain you can see on the KX cam, low 80s on Thursday. We do carry a slight chance for storms then as well. Williston, more of the same. We'll have a slight bump to the low 80s there, and an active forecast over the next few days as well. We'll carry the scattered rain showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday. The chances for severe weather, they're there, mostly in eastern North Dakota. Right now, the instability doesn't look to be as high as today. So here's the Minot 7-day forecast, and take a look at the weekend, because this is the first weekend of the North Dakota State Fair. Right now, we're looking at some upper 70s and possibly some storms. We'll really have to monitor that. Folks want to be outside, but before that, Thursday and Friday look to stay in the 80s. Here's the Bismarck 7-day forecast, a very active forecast in terms of rain and storms with a break, and a little bit of a warm up there on Friday before many of us return, Sonji, to the 70s this weekend.
Thank you, Amber. I truly appreciate that. An annual fundraiser raised a whole lot of money to help kids in need get a wish granted. Bakken Barbecue is a fundraiser in Dickinson that raises money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. This year, the event raised $100,000. That's $40,000 more than last year. Since 2013, Bakken Barbecue has raised over $400,000 for charity. Still to come on KX News, a group of students feeling and learning the beat. And keep it here. We'll have more local news ahead.
You're watching KX News, putting North Dakota first.
Aspiring young drummers from Western North Dakota are in a very special summer camp this week in Williston. Here's Jim Wilson.
From wearing earplugs to holding a drumstick to minimizing motion, these students were learning the finer points of percussion, specifically drumline, from an expert.
Something with drumming sparks people.
Dave Martin's spark for drumming happened when he was close to this age, 11, and he saw a drumline in a local parade.
I was immediately fascinated and followed them to the end of the parade and said, where do I sign up?
Now, 50 years later, Marvin is director of the Denver Broncos Stampede, a 40-piece group that fires up NFL fans in the Mile High City. But this week, he's sharing his knowledge with these kids.
Well, I want to get better, learn some different techniques, something just fun too.
I kind of like the people I meet, nice, and I like the sound that it makes.
James Brenner actually learned under Dr. Martin before, a handful of years ago, when Martin and the Stampede put on a clinic in Williston.
It was really cool because we got to practice with a professional drumline. They got to teach us some of their warm-ups and even a song.
So now Brenner is back in class, ready to hone his drumming skills and techniques.
And then she's not going to turn her shoulders, she's going to let her arms rotate behind her.
By the end of the two-day camp, these students will be doing much more than simple exercises, and Marvin hopes some will be propelled toward percussion.
It's one of the great joys of my life, is getting to get with kids at the very beginning of their journey, hopefully inspire them to keep at it and practice hard and keep music in their life, regardless of what level they want to finish at.
In Williston, Jim Olson, KX News.
And keep it here. More local news ahead after the break.
You're watching KX News, putting North Dakota first.
It was a half-century ago today, 3 American astronauts took one giant leap for mankind, launching on a trip to the moon. The Apollo 11 mission is considered one of the greatest achievements in space travel. And today, the Kennedy Space Center remembered the milestone.
3, 2, 1, 0. At the Kennedy Space Center this morning, visitors at Launch Pad 39A cheered at the precise moment Apollo 11 blasted off for the moon 50 years ago.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
On July 16, 1969, a Saturn V rocket carried 3 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, on the 225,000-mile journey. Walter Cronkite anchored CBS News coverage.
Oh boy, it looks good, Wally.
It was the beginning of a historic mission that many consider one of mankind's greatest accomplishments. Collins looked back at the launch of the most powerful rocket ever built.
Inside, you're not worried about your power so much as you're worried about your steering.
4 days later, the lunar module touched down.
The Eagle has landed.
And Armstrong became the first person to set foot on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Astronauts Armstrong and Aldrin left behind an American flag and a plaque that read in part, "We came in peace for all mankind."
Their success expanded humanity's understanding of our celestial neighbor, and most importantly, it taught us something about ourselves, that together we can accomplish any goal.
NASA has set its sights on returning to the moon. The project faces cost overruns and schedule delays, but the goal is to have a man or woman walking on the moon by the year 2024. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Kennedy Space Center.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Buzz Aldrin was also reportedly at today's event at Cape Canaveral.
So cool.
So
yeah,
cool.
And they had some good weather there today too for that. Let's take a look at our weather for us. Now we've got some weather we want to keep an eye on. We've got severe storm chances for the southern half of the state. So what we'll see here are those storms strengthening into the afternoon, potentially golf ball size hail and gusts of around 60 and 65 will have to be watched. You can see as I progress this into the evening, we'll have storms we certainly want to keep an eye on. And of course, Tom Schrader will have the latest on KX News at 5.
Well, that's great to hear, Amber. I'm excited to get back out. It's my weekend, so let's see how it goes.
Well, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you for watching KX News.